music as an identity. Does music or what we listen to make our identity and define us? Or can we actually listen to many things without giving up who we are and really expand actually our horizons? Personally, I'm passionate about music. I've spent too much of my life, nearly 40 years, to music, to opera especially, and classical music. And I think that we often think too much in compartments. We force music into genres, and also our friends sometimes define what we listen to and what we don't listen to. Do we not listen to classical music because our parents don't listen to it, and we think, oh my God, I'm not going to listen to what my parents listen to? Are my friends going to say, you listen to classical music? Oh my God, it's so boring. Or you listen to opera, even worse. It's like, why are we thinking in those categories? Why do we not have the courage to actually think for ourselves, listen for ourselves, and feel ourselves? Music is a universal language. Music, any music, causes emotions, causes moods, causes us to maybe reflect, think, be sad, be happy, laugh, smile. And it's a human reaction that we feel when we listen to music. So why are we limiting ourselves by thinking certain music is not going to interest me? And I think we need to be curious in life in general, but especially also towards music that in essence is the same. It's black dots on 5 lines. It's harmonies, it's keys, and every musician, if it's a rock musician or classical or jazz or pop or anything, is applying the same principles, basic principles, when making music, when composing music. And I think we need to keep this sometimes in mind instead of excluding something that can be terribly enriching. I also find especially opera, for example, enriching because it's telling a story to music, sung. The voice is the oldest instrument that we have. Humankind has a wonderful instrument that has been around for thousands of years, and it's still. There's music around that was written 300 or 400 years ago. We still listen to it today. How bad can it be? Why can it not give us emotions or be worthwhile listening to if it has been around for so long? And also don't forget that a lot of the historic music has been around only as dots on a page. Now for the last 100+ years we could record everything, we can reproduce everything, and it's instantly available. But a lot of music survived just on paper, and because people played it again and again and again. So there is value to it, and I think it's worthwhile exploring this value instead of pushing it aside and saying that might not be for me. And also, I think we sometimes are too conditioned by what surrounds us. And there's some surprising facts about classical music that might surprise you or might not. But, for example, Baroque, which music was written about 350 years ago, and jazz have a tremendous amount in common. Baroque music has a bass line, a basso continuo, polyphonic chords that were played simply because there's a bass note and then there's a sign, a number or a flat or a sharp next to it, and the musicians then knew what to make out of it, what chord to make out of it, because they knew the style. Jazz works pretty much exactly the same. The charts in jazz are also just basically numbers. It's a different style, but the concept is the same. And I think you sometimes assume some of you make music and probably know what the basic musical principles are. But for those who don't make music and just listen to it, you have an immense universe of styles and sounds out there for you and available to you. Use them. Don't be prejudiced. Try to really explore what's there. And music, being a universal language, should make you think that if somebody in Japan can listen to Beethoven and feel excited, or somebody in France listen to tango and enjoy it, or you can listen to your music here and somebody on the other end of the world can actually have the same feelings and excitement by listening to this music. Think about it. Think about what music can do to you. Think about what music can do to your emotional range, to your experiences. You can dance, tap to music. You can listen with friends to music and feel the same, or you can listen to the same music and feel different things. And I think we sometimes limit ourselves way too much. And I wonder why we do this to ourselves. I personally like jazz, I like pop, I like rock, I love opera especially. But that also has opened for me a lot of aspects, because opera is based on literature, on universal stories, it has musical styles that have been developed, that are incredibly rich, that have single lines, have duos, have choruses, have great, immense moments of nearly a musical apotheosis, and it's just so exciting. And I think it's worthwhile trying it out. I think we sometimes need to ask ourselves, generally in life, I think, why do we just have a prejudice? Why do we stereotype? Why do we not look for something that we haven't experienced before? Look for something that we haven't seen before and done before. Stay in your comfort level is really very limiting. And I think that one of the important things for me always has been to be curious and to look for what I don't know and experience what I don't know. And obviously in my profession, it's crucial, because we also have to make new music, and even the so-called classical music is mixing a lot today. There are a lot of new things and new styles that we keep developing also in classical music, and more the classical and the pop and even rock and jazz is coming a bit together and evolving into something maybe even more universal than it used to be, because for too long we had too many categories, and they all inspire each other. When you think, for example, that opera composers, Giacomo Puccini, who lived in the late 19th century, early 20th century, inspired countless movie scores. John Williams and Ennio Morricone wouldn't be what they are without having copied Puccini. Had Puccini not come first, they would have not composed what they composed. If I tell you, come with me to a concert and listen to the violin concerto of Erich Korngold, you probably would say, why? If I told you that tune, that first tune of this concerto is identical of the Star Trek soundtrack, of the original series of Star Trek, it's identical. And there are many other music that have been copied that have their origin in classical music. You've all listened to opera because you've listened to television ads. You've seen movies where opera was in there, or classical music. You haven't even noticed it. And maybe you even enjoyed it a lot without noticing what was it that I enjoyed. So I think to enrich your emotional universe, you should listen to all possible music that crosses your path. You should open yourself to possibilities that I don't think are there for you if you just listen to what your friends listen to and stay within one path. As I don't think you should just live in one place or just see one type of movie or just do one sport. Life is short, world is big. And the emotional experience that opera offer, and also that give you insights on various cultures and of their way of expressing through music something of their culture, is incredibly enriching. And it all, especially today in a time and age where we can listen to everything anytime just by looking on YouTube, I think that richness is terribly important for our intellectual development and emotional development. I think that going back to the original question or original idea, that changing your musical taste doesn't change your persona, is something you should ask yourself sometimes, and not listen to your friends, then think that if you listen to something that they don't, that's terribly negative, and that you're just really a nerd or something odd. We are surrounded constantly by music everywhere, at the shopping mall, at the metro and airports and everywhere. And I think sometimes we should listen up and think, what are we actually listening to? Is it something that I could listen to more? And is it just background music? Because bad music, yeah, there is background music that is uninteresting, and that can be classical, can be modern music. There's trivial music everywhere. But sometimes when something piques your interest, listen up and maybe listen to more of it. Or maybe if you play an instrument or if you sing, maybe it's something you could pick up and use in your experience and in your emotional development also. And not just use it and think that it's something that, no, it's just background. Be more conscious about music that you listen to, because it also says a lot about the people that made this music, play this music, and enjoy this music. And it can tell you also a lot culturally about somebody when you think about where is it coming from. I lived a few years in Oman and learned a lot about Arabic music that I didn't know about before, and I listened to it differently because I paid attention, because my colleagues explained me things about it. You know, quarter tone intervals in music are different than tones and half tones. It is a completely different way of listening and feeling it, because it's a different sound, a different harmony to it. Don't just consume music. Listen to it consciously, because it does enrich your thinking and your emotions. And I just believe that we sometimes forget that what makes us human is to feel. And if music has made us feel over hundreds and thousands of years, there's something about it that we should keep in our minds and consciously be aware of, and not just think that it's cheap, trivial, and it's there anyway. It's not there anyway. It's there because people make the music, compose it, and perform it. And don't take this for granted, because well-performed music is something that you will enjoy much more than badly performed music or trivial music. Especially in Oman, I saw that even if you don't know something about a certain type of music, I mean, what do you know about rock? You like rock? Probably. What do you know about it, really? Do you know how it's really performed, how it's played, how you write, how you compose this music? Probably not. So what do you need to know something about classical music to enjoy it? And I had this conversation several times in Oman, because, of course, opera and classical music there was relatively new or unknown. But I also noticed that in programming events there, and I brought very high-level performers there of all sorts. I brought Diana Krall, I brought Youssou N'Dour, I brought the Vienna State Opera to Oman. And as long as it was good, the audience enjoyed it. It didn't matter if they had heard it before or not. But when it was well performed, the reaction was fantastic in the audience. And your antennas, your instincts, are much better than you think. And you will tell if something connects with you, if you like something, no matter what type it is. But if it's good, it will somehow make a reaction in you, and you will know that this was actually something that you might want to do again because it was well performed. So don't just discard something because you think you don't know it or you don't know anything about it. Just go for it. And make sure that your instincts are good and that you listen carefully and you actually are aware of what you're listening to. Music, I couldn't live without music. I'm sure that all of you, I hope that all of you could not live without music. And just be more conscious about it, because the musicians and the performers deserve your attention and deserve to continue making music to keep our life enriched and interesting. Thank you very much.